Welcome. What is up? Welcome to Mixer. I'm your host RC. I am joined by my co-host here, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's opening day for football, so it's a great day.
Happy football season to everybody. We are the Mixer. We talk NFL and we talk Formula One. Going to be obviously blending in some more NFL content, especially as the Formula One seems series championships seem all but decided. However, silly season is gonna be with us for a while. It would appear, drivers where they're gonna land, all that stuff. Follow us on our socials at FC Wine Mixer, pretty much everywhere. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the Mixer channel. Our website, fcwinemixer.com, has links to all of our socials. And don't forget to rate and review our podcast wherever you get your podcasts feeds. I think I got everything. Let's talk Formula One. We just had the Zandvoort. Why am I Holland Dutch Grand Prix?
Dutch, yeah,
Damn them! They have so many different. It's also the Netherlands, right?
yeah, it is.
Yeah. So Netherlands, Holland, but the people okay. And there's a lot of orange. The Orange Grand Prix.
Yeah,
Um, and shocker, Max Verstappen won. So, but not without some controversy. In the controversy started in qualifying when Max put it on pole, despite maybe not having a car best suited for that track. Just eked it out over Leclerc. We had Mercedes drivers. I don't know what George Russell's time was, but it sounded like Lewis Hamilton was on a flyer and was within a shout of getting on pole. However, Sergio Perez spun it in the last corner and brought out a yellow flag. So both Hamilton, I think Hamilton signs and am I getting this wrong with signs behind them? I can't remember, but definitely
I
Hamilton
don't
and
think
Russell.
Signs was.
Okay. Well, they couldn't finish their laps, so Max was on pole, and yeah, a little fishy. Very convenient for Perez to lose it there. Then we had the race and a lot of mixed tire strategy. It was pretty interesting to see how the teams are doing. I mean, Ferrari even at one point looked like they were going to go on a 3 tire strategy for signs. Galaxy brain, less weight. I mean, find the lie. Think of the fuel economy they'll get in this economy. But yeah, Ferrari, what the hell are they doing, man? What do you think about this disaster, Jeff? Because I mean, this is as bad as it gets. Even you know that the
Yeah,
cars
I
have
mean
4 tires before you became a Formula One fan.
that's very true.
They were doing
I
it for the brand. They were trying to send him out there on 3 tires for the brand.
exactly. I read something about this that like the call for him to pit came late, and that obviously someone missed it. But yeah, that's inexcusable. It's one of those things that uh, if you're going to be a top tier team, really, if you're going to be a Formula One team, your pit stops need to be like roughly 2.5 seconds. And if you're losing tires like this, you're just not going to make that, right? It hurt his already terrible race even more. And it caused, I don't think it did any damage to Perez, but missing Sainz's back left tire meant that there was an air gun left out and Perez ran over it. Um, yeah, it was just bad all the way around. Just terrible, terrible, terrible.
I listened to the radio call, and it was pretty much when he was in the last corner, and he just said box, 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 and or box this lap or something. So I don't know if whoever made that call intended for him to come in right then, or if they were giving him the call so he knew like at the end of the lap. Either way, it's a terrible spot to give the message. Uh, it could be that they were trying to let Verstappen go by to get an undercut, or Perez. I can't remember, or even the Mercedes drivers. I can't remember how close Sainz was running other guys, but they might have left it to the last minute to throw the other teams off. However, I mean, I feel like this is something disciplined teams would have practice. And if you see your three other friends in the pit garage, or your coworkers, whatever they refer to themselves as, whatever their pronoun is in the garage, um, go out with tires, you're like, just what's going on? It was like, what? And then, oh man,
Yeah.
dude. And then, yeah, Bonato just said there was a radio communications thing, and then, of course, the Sky Sports crew didn't really press him on it. Yeah, but I mean, Ferrari didn't look like they had it in them anyway. Leclerc looked good, but Sainz not so much. Um, then the next batch of controversy struck when Yuki Tsunoda pitted. I think it was around like lap 40, 50, something like that. And he thought his tire wasn't on right. He felt something weird in the car. AlphaTauri pit crew, or the pit wall, checked his sensors and such and determined that the tires were on safely. So he kind of putted around on the track to limp it into the pit box, and his pit crew went to work, seemingly at his crotch. I mean, when I was looking at it, I was like, what are they doing? Like, I was like, that just looks wrong. And most of Twitter thought the same thing. Apparently, he was getting ready to get out of the car and loosened his seatbelts. So they checked the car over, tried to tighten his seatbelts, which I guess they were able to. Sent him back out, and he's like, nope, something's still wrong. And they're like, all right, park the car. Maybe it's the gearbox, or what did they think it was? They thought it was the
A diffuser or something,
yeah,
right?
no, the differential, which
Differential.
is
Yeah.
part of the drive to the car. So, yeah, um, and then that brought out virtual safety car, which Max was able to pit, retain some of his lead. The Mercedes were on the hard tires, and yeah, just looked to be set to make it difficult for Max. Oh, we got the first rain of this hurricane that's coming in right now. Lovely. Uh,
Nice.
so you, yeah, broadcasting in the elements on a tropical storm watch or whatever we're at. So, I mean, here we are. No off days for the mixer here. But yeah, so it kind of, and then there was somebody took a screenshot of the Red Bull head strategist, I believe is her role. I do not remember her name. Smiling, laughing, and of course, the internet being the internet, went at her. And I mean, I think one of the main contributors to this was the Sky Sports team was kind of throwing like, oh, isn't that convenient? You know, which is just ridiculous. I hope they got a talking to about that, because apparently some abusive language was used towards the Red Bull strategist. I mean, I saw a post that, was pretty out there. Um, anyway, and of course, like AlphaTauri had to do their social media post. We do not condone hurtful language being thrown at anybody. And I think Lewis Hamilton said something as well. You got to take on this, man, or is this just the internet being the internet? And are we
Um,
part of the problem by like amplifying it and discussing it? Because I hear like on Twitter everybody's like acknowledging it, but isn't that what the trolls want?
yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't put it past Red Bull for doing something like this, considering like some things that have happened in sports in general, in terms of like people working together to win a race or a title or something like that. Um, and I understand where the controversy like comes from because the way AlphaTauri acted was extremely weird regarding Yuki. Um, like I would venture to say, if you swap Yuki with 15 drivers, if not more, the moment he says, I think something's wrong with this car, like that first time, they just say, okay, can you bring it in? If not, pull to the side and let's retire it, right? But Yuki gets treated a little weird with AlphaTauri and Red Bull in general. Like he gets treated like a kid, and maybe it's because he's so small and like he's got that kind of look. But like at the end of the day, he's a professional driver. Like he said something was wrong with the car, you had him drive it around. He was getting ready to get out of the car, and you like force him to stay in it, and then he goes driving away and is like, yeah, it's still messed up. And then you say, okay, retire the car. Yeah, I think this is just terrible for AlphaTauri, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because Max made use of the eventual safety car, which was going to happen anyway because Valtteri stopped on the main straight. So like,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it happened no matter what. But I get people like not wanting to like think that things were on the up and up because you know conspiracy theories are definitely more fun. But I
Yeah.
think this is one that this should have just been left to the trolls on Twitter to like talk about, and Sky Sports never should have brought it up. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think it was just a bad team decision because of the way they view Yuki. And yeah, I think that if someone's an F1 driver, and I'll even throw this out for Latifi, if they say something's wrong with the car, team should believe them. So that's just my view on it. But yeah,
100% agree. AlphaTauri and the way the team handled it was strange to say the least. I mean, it's a short track. You're going to go a lap down pretty quick. Yuki had already fallen out of the point. So, what are you doing?
yeah,
However, when the bullets are flying, it's tough for teams to make decisions. It's tough for teams to look at all the factors and they're just working on what's in front of them. So, and as in our next example of things going wrong, so yeah, Bottas had an issue, gearbox, engine, not exactly sure what, I can't remember. Not important, but his car lost power coming down the straightaway to start a lap, and he just pulled over, parked on the inside of the straightaway, just kind of near where the pit wall was ending. But brought out another yellow, another full safety car. Hamilton was in the lead at this point with something like 12 laps to go. Um, they were Mercedes, listening to the radio, it sounded they were confused at what to do. I think at first they said they were going to split strategies and that Russell was going to stay out, and then they decided that they were going to both stay out. And then Russell shortly after was like, "I need to get off these tires," and just basically forced the issue. So he got on softs. Max did the same. I mean, most of the front runners did, but Hamilton stayed out. So, I mean, this is almost a carbon copy of what happened with Ferrari at Silverstone, where Sainz was either on fresher tires and and they had the option to bring Leclerc in, who was leading for soft tires, or I think maybe they, because I remember messaging or tweeting or something that Ferrari should split their strategies, which is kind of a conservative move, but Max was on the charge. So yeah, I mean, if you split the strategies, you're more likely for one of your cars to win, which ended up happening. I believe Sainz won that race. So yeah, and then Mercedes kind of didn't know what to do, and yeah, they they left Hamilton out. So he was essentially a sitting duck, and he didn't have that buffer with Russell in between him. And of course, he was rather upset about the situation. Mercedes were put in a tough spot. What they should have done is told Russell to stay out there, um, because they had already made the decision to, or obviously brought them both in. However, they just didn't have the time to make that call, and yeah, they messed up. There's no way around it. Mercedes messed up. They could have been in for the win. Hamilton could have at least been competitive with Max and not gotten past in the first corner on the restart, which supposedly was due to him being in the wrong engine mode. I mean, I don't think it would have made a difference the way Max was driving, but yeah. And then the main thing is Hamilton got very upset at the team. He used a few expletives, saying, "Oh, you guys left me out there, just like a sitting fucking duck," or I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was pretty upset. He said, "Oh, I should just go and retire the car." And anyway, threw a fit. Uh, the internet got a hold of that. So yeah, I mean, what do you think of Mercedes' call, Jeff, and Hamilton's reaction?
I think that uh, they obviously made the wrong call overall. George himself made the right call. I think, I believe you said this, but they needed to keep both drivers on the same strategy, I think. Um, and they should have been fighting for second and third and not worried about the win. I mean, I understand like there's 10, 12 laps left and like you think like, oh yeah, we're up here, we have a chance, but like you didn't have
Mm-hmm.
a chance. Max was
Right.
winning that race at that point. Um, I think that, well, like you said, once Lewis was staying out, they should have forced George to stay out. I think if those two together had fought Max, that was like their chance.
Yeah.
Even being on worse tires, like 2-on-1 might be able to get it done. Once George pitted, and this was the unfortunate thing for Lewis, is like you can't pit Lewis the next lap, right? So Lewis needed to be the first one to pit. Max probably
Mm.
would have gone by and been in first. And now you're having to catch him. Um, Probably not going to happen when you're on the same tires, all that. But yeah, I mean, I understood Lewis's reaction. Like he kind of did just get hung out to dry there at the end. He wasn't going to keep Max behind him for long, even if he was in the right engine mode. He probably would have kept him behind for the first couple turns, but that was about it. Um, and then he was a sitting duck for George, and he was a sitting duck for Leclerc. And the interesting thing, though, that I thought was like, if George had worked with him, and not tried to like push on and get Max. If George, like once George passed, if he'd kind of stayed within DRS range of Lewis, I think Lewis would have kept Leclerc behind because after a few laps, he was kind of putting up the same times as Leclerc, only losing a little bit. And so I think if he'd had that DRS help the way like Magnussen and Schumacher did in Austria for a few laps, I think they could have made it very difficult for Leclerc to get third, and they could have got the podium, even with Lewis being on the bad tires at that point. As for like the race itself, though, like Lewis was getting hunted down no matter what. Max wasn't catching him at a crazy amount, but he was still close to half a second a lap. Like he was going to get him pretty quick, I think, had there been no safety car in general. But yeah, after the safety car, I think, as you said, they needed to keep them both on the same strategy. I think that probably would have secured 2 and 3 at the very least.
Yeah.
And if they do it perfectly, maybe they can hold Max off for the win. But yeah, that's Mercedes is kind of relearning strategy of like not being the number one team. I think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think that Red Bull would have pitted Max had he been in Lewis's situation.
Yeah.
Because at that point, that's his only like opportunity, right? So that's just my view on it. But Max is driving amazing right now. That car that he has is amazing. He might set the record for most wins in a row. It's just kind of a perfect situation right now, and that there's no one to really challenge him in terms of like a driver and a car, right? Like I think Leclerc and Lewis and even George potentially are similar levels of like driver skill, but they just don't have the car to compete in any given race at the moment.
They do not. And that might have been the best chance for Mercedes. And yeah, I mean, they're probably all under a lot of pressure because they're used to winning, they're used to dominating, and it just hasn't happened this year. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with Toto Wolff's comments about the car being like a shit box. So Lewis Hamilton getting frustrated, knowing all that, is understandable. However, ideally, you wouldn't want your driver to have an outburst like that, and to be a little more mature about it. Hamilton being used to winning, though, I get it. And yeah, I mean, he probably wants to take his comments back. I think he said as much, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, if that were me and I would play an F1 manager or something, and then that happened, I would be shouting the same thing. So Max wins, as we all knew he would. George Russell finished second. Good result for George. And Leclerc, Leclerc ends up third. How did they mess up? Didn't they did something wrong with Leclerc? I can't remember exactly what, but
Yeah, I don't remember what, but he also wasn't really on the pace either. I mean, he was definitely probably a little faster than Lewis in the first stint, but he was also a little slower than Max was. And
yeah,
so
I think.
he was.
Go ahead.
I think Max had pulled like a 5 or 6 second advantage over Charles. Maybe not that large, but like it was close to a pit stop at least in the first stint. So like I don't know if Charles was ever really in it. And then with Mercedes pulling the one stop instead of the two, it kind of eliminated him from contention, right? Like before the safety car, he was over 10 seconds behind Russell, I believe. Like he really had no chance of getting a podium without the safety car. He probably benefited the most. Because Max likely is going to catch, but Leclerc wasn't really catching and was far enough behind that he got the benefit.
Yeah, Mercedes started on the mediums and went to the hards. Ferrari and Red Bull started on the softs and went to the mediums. The hards seemed to be performing better than they expected, and yeah, I mean Ferrari, after what happened in Hungary with the hards, they're probably they're that like traumatized Chihuahua meme when somebody says hard tires now. Yeah. Leclerc almost got pole. He had a little moment coming out of one of the corners, or a little bit of understeer, didn't turn in enough or something. I can't remember exactly what, but but I mean, with friggin' a Ferrari on the podium at this point, and I mean, they'll take it. Sainz wasn't going to finish. I mean, he might have been able to get fourth if he didn't have the 3 tire thing, but it would have been tough. So yeah, that is the Dutch Grand Prix recap. We got Monza coming up. Ferrari has some yellow on their car, which, I mean, it looks okay. I wish they would have done something more, but what can you do? Red Bull should be strong at the track. It's the fastest track on the calendar. Yeah, it's a quick race, so that's kind of nice. Since the average top speed is so high, it'll take like probably 40 minutes less than the Hungarian Grand Prix. But yeah, that is the race recap and setup for Monza. We've had some driver news. It sounds like Pierre Gasly is being strongly considered for the Alpine seat, that it has been vacated by Fernando. And we have Colton Herta being rumored for AlphaTauri. They're checking his super license, and I believe the Alpine, the Pierre Gasly to Alpine is contingent on AlphaTauri being able to secure Colton Herta for AlphaTauri. So we have that in motion. We have Nick DeVries, who I guess is a Mercedes driver, or I think he's tested with everybody, but I don't know if it's gives you weird vibes like it gives me. I'm a big vibes guy, but seeing him like on Toto Wolff's shoulder with the freaking matching cardigan or whatever tied around his neck, it's like, what is this, man? Have some pride. Like,
That's his
what do
team
you?
principle right there.
Yeah, but like the same look. Like, is he gonna start eating pumpernickel too, like a cookie?
Why not?
Um, he's 27. He hasn't got a Formula One ride yet. It sounds like he might have a shot at Williams if and when they get rid of Latifi. So yeah, there's still a bunch up in the air. Don't know where Ricardo's going to wind up. Don't know where Mick's going to wind up. Yeah, a lot of moving pieces. Where do you see the chips falling, Jeff? Look into your crystal
Um,
ball.
I don't see how Herta doesn't get the super license at this point, the required points. Red Bull seems to be putting enough pressure on them. We know that the owners of Formula One really want to break into the American market like even more. And the best way to do that at this point is an American driver. And why not take Colton Herta, you know? So I would be very surprised if he did not get those points somehow. Um, Also, I think that I read today that Hulkenberg is likely for the second Haas seat at the end of the year. Um, yeah, like weird. I don't know why you would go with him. I don't understand why someone would take De Vries at this point. Not that he's a bad driver or anything, but like as you said, he's 27. Why not give some younger guys a chance? But my working theory at this point is that Herta goes to AlphaTauri, Gasly to Alpine. I'm unsure about the hot seat, so we'll leave that open. I think De Vries goes to Williams. I think Ricardo becomes the reserve driver for Mercedes. Lewis wins his 8th title next year, and Ricardo steps in and takes that seat. And then Ricardo shows that he's a world driver champion again.
One can
Or for
dream.
the first time.
One can dream. So, yeah, I mean, ugh, God, I feel like if they did that and Hamilton retired, Mercedes would just bring in somebody else.
I think they would too, but I actually think that a situation like that might be Danny's best option at the moment. Like if you accept a Williams or a Haas drive, although both teams seem to have gotten better this year overall, um, aren't you really just accepting like, all right, I'm doing this for the money at this point? Like I'm not, because you're over 30, you're never getting back to a top team, at that point. I think if you go to Mercedes and take a reserve role, you get talked up, you perform well. Lewis wins again and says, Danny Rick was great as a sim driver, setups, all this stuff. Like he was great to have. Doesn't that kind of put you back in like, maybe it's not the same as, obviously like doing very well racing yourself, but like now you become a much more attractive to some teams because they're like, oh, he still got it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm Danny, I probably go that route at this point. But yeah, I'm actually more interested in what happens with Mick. I think Mick has done a decent job. He may not be as fast as Magnussen over one lap, but he's probably a better racer at this point. Um, and it's really surprising to me that they're not committed to Mick for another year at least.
I think he, I think he, had to expense too much equipment for Haas. I think that's what it comes down to. They're just like, yeah, we can't trust this guy with our equipment, and that's going to go away. And it sounds like Ferrari too made that decision by removing him from the academy. And again, I think he gets part of his salary from that. So yeah, hope Mick lands somewhere. Hope Ricardo ends up on a team, even if it is Williams, because if he, like you said, if he kind of goes out of sight, out of mind, becomes a clipboard carrier essentially for Mercedes. Yeah, as a test driver, I don't know. Even if he did the best, that somebody would be willing to give him a full ride, unless it's like kind of the one offs because somebody gets COVID, which it sounds like Pierre Gasly has some sort of illness. So it looks like he's not going to be able to race this weekend. It'll be interesting to see who AlphaTauri, slots in. It'd be nice if they could just throw Herta in. but yeah, the whole super license situation makes it not possible, methinks. Hopefully it works out, but there's going to be more of that to come. And yeah, look forward to it. I mean, I guess the other news is Porsche. It sounds like the Porsche Red Bull deal is officially done so, and it sounds like Porsche just might not be coming to Formula One after all of that. But yeah, I think there's probably still a little bit more to the story, but just be on the lookout for that, as we will. Jeff, today is the start of the NFL season. We got the Bills at the Mega Market LA Rams house, SoFi Stadium tonight. Everybody's hyping this as a Super Bowl preview. The schedule makers did a good job. Yeah, you excited for the game? Excited for some football?
Very excited. I enjoy both of these teams. I think that both of them are Super Bowl contenders. But yeah, it should be a fun one. It gives me vibes of Chiefs Rams a few years ago when they combined for like 90 points.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Everybody's picking the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I think it was the ESPN First Take where all of them picked the Bills, and all of Twitter was like, "Yeah, there's no way this doesn't become a meme." At some point, they
Right.
just put the curse on him. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how the pressure, how Josh Allen and the Bills can handle the pressure. I don't know why anybody's not mentioning that Brian Dable, their offense coordinator, left, who kind of pioneered the run only or or run only as a last resort or pass all the time, pass no matter what. Like Dable would go in there with this post-it note in his pocket and it's just written pass no matter what. Um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that affects the team. Um, there seemed like they were not able to have sustained drives because of a lack of a running game. And maybe that changes the Bills' philosophy a little bit. They did go out and draft James Cook second round, third round. Anyway, they added
Around
to
there.
their running back core, and I believe they made some other moves that would indicate maybe they're going to not be so pass heavy. But yeah, and then Josh Allen does have the tendency to just smash all the buttons on his controller and do all kinds of wide old things in situations in high pressure situations. So, but I mean, there's no denying the team is good. So yeah, I just don't know that the Bills should be favored so heavily like they are. We're gonna see how Matt Stafford's elbow's doing. So yeah, a lot's gonna be revealed about that. And yeah, I'm excited. Uh, Looking at some of the other matchups this week, we have Patriots Dolphins. It'll be interesting to see if Tua can show some signs of improvements. We got we got the Chiefs at the Cardinals, so Kyler Murray going up against Patrick Mahomes. That should be a fun one. Broncos Seahawks, which I mean the Seahawks might be the worst team in the league on Monday Night Football, so that'll be interesting. Russell Wilson going there in a new uniform for the first time. We got Brady against the Cowboys on Sunday night. Yeah, any other game you're looking forward to, Jeff? Like maybe your new team's game, which is the Packers and Vikings. Are you gonna go? Is
Oh no,
okay.
I can't do that. Um,
Sam isn't gonna lure
well,
you. She's a Packer fan, right?
she is a Packer fan.
Okay.
Um, I'm not all that excited about my new team's game because it should be a cakewalk. Um,
So
so
are you a Colts fan?
big
Colts
reveal
Texans?
time. God no. It's I'm going with my boy Lamar and the Ravens.
Okay.
Uh, I was hoping to announce with his contract, but that seems to be a little behind at the moment. But they should have a cakewalk playing the Jets and Joe Flacco this week. So
Uh-huh.
I will be watching, but not the most intriguing game.
So you're
The other,
ditching the new Browns franchise for the old Browns franchise.
exactly, it's perfect, right? It's just
Hmm.
doing exactly what the old team did. So, but yeah, I feel like, I was thinking about it a lot. I defend Lamar to everyone that hates on him. I love that guy. I think he's great. And so I might as well go support him.
Yeah, Lamar is a fun quarterback. I wanted the Chargers to take him when he was coming out. I was like pounding the table. I think they got Derwin James that year instead, so that kind of worked out. Or might have been somebody else. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, that's a good team to pick. You got Harbaugh there. So yeah, and they're
Exactly.
playing the Jets. Joe Flacco. Oh, it's a Joe Flacco revenge game though. You're not worried
It
about
is.
that?
Not at all. Zero worries.
Yeah, the Jets. Yeah, that should be a cakewalk. We'll see. The Ravens had some defensive struggles last year, right? Wasn't their defense terrible? I remember targeting them.
Yeah, it was kind of a multifaceted thing with the team as a whole. They just suffered injuries. They had like 3 or 4 torn ACLs before the season started to key guys. Like we're talking J.K. Dobbins. We're talking, I think, Marlon Humphrey, number one corner. And then, as we know, Gus Edwards got hurt, tore his. Lamar missed for the first time in his career, missed, I think, 5 or 6 games, something like that. Yeah, it was just kind of a mess all over last year. So, yeah, you may have targeted the defense a little bit, but this year everyone seems to be healthy so far. I have told a few people I think Lamar has a very good chance to win MVP this year because he'll have the narrative, right? Like they weren't all that great last year. He's coming back from injury. If they win the division over the Bengals, right? Like I know the Bengals aren't a juggernaut yet, but they're kind of everyone's favorite, like darling, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If the Ravens happen to go like 13-4, something like that, Lamar has a very, very productive year. I see him winning MVP pretty easily.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch for you having a what's a casual dig I can take at Lamar, like having a taller Kyler Murray. No, that sounds like a good thing. A
Right?
less like it's like having Justin Herbert but without the arm.
Okay. I'll,
I
I'll
shouldn't
let
say
you
that.
have that. Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure Lamar will just shove it down my throat for that take, but what can you do? Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not as super hyped for this season as I have been in the past. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because Derrick Henry is my running back on a few of my fantasy teams, and I just have this. Yeah, there's a lot on the line. I don't know. Maybe it's just because like the Chargers had a good season, didn't make the playoffs last year, and they got a hard, they got a hard schedule. So yeah, it's year 3 for Justin Herbert. So I mean, I feel like with how good he's been, they kind of need to make the playoffs if he's gonna, be a perennial, like one of the best in the league that is always making the playoffs no matter what. Or like, yeah, is he just gonna be one of those guys stuck on a team that just can't get it done for whatever reason? So maybe it's just a little bit of nerves knowing that the road ahead is tough for for the Chargers, and I'm just kind of like quelling my expectations a little bit so I don't feel let down. Which is what I should have done with Ferrari because I mean, maybe I'm just a little gun shy because I'm like anything I love just causes me pain, except for my daughter. She's awesome. Shouts to Arya. You the real one, bestie. Um, Anything else you got? I scored 2 goals in indoor soccer last night.
Oh, nice. Where are you playing at?
The Sportsplex.
Okay.
First of the season. MBD. MBD. The dogs are cheering me on. But yeah, I mean, I think that is gonna do it for us here. No other talking points. Be respectful online. That'll be the takeaway message from this one. Don't attack people. Don't, and keep your conspiracy theories to yourself. You know, we don't need that. Jeff, you got anything to say if you can hear me before we go?
See ya.
You got I don't think he has anything to say.
I do
The
not.
people are hanging in suspense for your final words. What's up, pup? All right, let's get this pumpernickel. PF Chang's time. Enjoy the NFL. Cannot wait to recap some of the action, all the major talking points, and yeah, ooh, I can't wait for the red zone countdown. low key one of the best things in sports. All right, guys. To the loo. Bye.